Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tell Your Story. I'm Todd Nesloney, your host. I'm an elementary principal out of Texas, and each week I seek to bring you different guests whose stories have inspired, encouraged, or challenged me in some way or another. I am thrilled this week to have my special guest, YoungMin You, on with me. YoungMin, for people that don't know who you are, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is YoungMin. Thank you so much, Todd, for having me in this special interview session. My name is YoungMin, just like how it's pronounced, YoungMin, young man, but with an I. That's how I always say it. But I'm from South Korea. I grew up there. My dad is a pastor of a small church there. I grew up in a Christian family, and then at the age of 15, I had an amazing opportunity to come to the States. And I don't know how it all worked out, but I somehow ended up in this beautiful, beautiful country where I wanted to learn English and possibly music as well. So I had always, passion for learning music and like using it to bring happiness to people and all that, right? But I grew up in a very poor family, so we didn't have a lot of money. So I started teaching myself how to play the piano by watching YouTube videos until I made it to my dream college, Wheaton College Conservatory. I graduated, and I now live in Petoskey, Michigan, small town, doing my thing online. I now have about close to 100,000 followers on throughout different social media platforms as well as YouTube. So I'm a full-time YouTuber now.
Well, it's funny because it's so funny the way I found out who you are and where you're from and all that, because we are both fans of a band called For King and Country, and they had shared something that you had done, and I was in awe that I found you on Instagram, and then you just released an album that's out, and it's all instrumental piano playing. It's beautiful music. But so you said you taught yourself how to play the piano on your own through through YouTube videos?
Yeah, until college. So it was really, really funny because I'm like, I can really afford to take piano lessons. They're expensive. And, the best way, I think my favorite way was to just learn from all the YouTubers putting out free content out there, right? Like, I had a great pianist that I loved named John Schmidt, who is actually a pianist for the Piano Guys. And it's a big, big group. But I had a few of those lovely pianists that I really admired. I just devoured all their content. And then I found some free tutorials online. So I taught myself. I did take 3 lessons before my audition at college. But I didn't think the teacher liked me.
That's amazing. So was it always piano that you were drawn to, or were there other instruments in the mix too?
Mostly piano. Some guitar, some drums here and there, but really my main primary instrument is piano. But I actually learned music composition as well. So writing music, my own music. That's what I studied in college, actually, music composition. So that's my forte. Yeah. No pun intended. But
Has music always been just a natural passion of yours ever since you were really young, or was it something that came later?
I really started playing piano when I was 7. And I just loved it because my older sister, Min Young, whose name, by the way, is the backward of mine, YoungMin and Min Young, she started playing when I was 7, and she was just playing chopsticks or something on the keys. And I just thought she was the coolest person ever. And I just wanted to just be like her. So I kind of mimicked her, played along. But yeah, music has been such a big passion of me, even at a young age. I just loved it. And then in middle school, that's when it really took off, I think, in my heart. I'm like, music is really, really cool. And that's when I kind of started writing my own music as well. So.
That's awesome. So you have an album out now. Talk to me about that progression of how you got to that point. So you come to the States, you go to college, you get a degree in music, and then how does that lead to an album?
Yeah. Oh man, I don't even know how it all happened. Once again, just one step at a time. But before even I put out the album, like I was doing a lot of YouTube stuff, right? So I was putting out some new music videos. What I've been doing actually in the past couple of years is putting out some of the Christian piano covers as well. So because I love all the worship music, old hymns or whatnot. So like I was covering some of those songs, and I realized there is not many Christian piano music out there, instrumental music. So I wanted to provide that for my audience. So I started as one, just recording in my home studio and put out the first, and the people loved it. I'm like doing second one, third one, and then voila, like it just became an album. I'm like, I need to make an album. So now I have a 12-song album.
So, and what does it feel like to like see it on iTunes and stuff?
Yeah, it feels so great. What's really, really cool is just like a person that I have no idea, have never met before, and then they're going through Spotify or something, and then they just reach out to me. You know, I was just going through my Spotify like weekly, you know, updates or whatever, discover, and then my song popped up, and then it helped them so much to, you know, to have like a better day. They're having a bad day or something, and then they email me. So those are the times that it really truly feels like, oh man, like something's happening here, like it's really making some impact. So it feels really great to see my music on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music. It's just a very special feeling.
Well, it was so cool because I downloaded your album and was listening to it because, you know, there's sometimes when you're working that you just want instrumental music. You don't want the words. You just want something playing in the background.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous to hear these songs that I know so well, but all done in this just instrumental piano that you do so well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's great, and I recommend, you know, anybody listening, just go and check it out because it's just great music to hear you play.
Thank you so much.
How did you decide the songs that were going to be on the album?
So it's a fun process. I think that's one of my favorite process of the whole aspect of my just online music making. I get inspired by many different things. Sometimes I literally just like go on, I don't know, YouTube and put like research Christian music and see what pops up. Sometimes I listen to like a radio station, and then like something would really inspire me. The lyrics will speak to me. Then I'm like, what's like a good way to portray that through piano? So I start thinking about that. Sometimes I'm just, I think a lot of times too that I just go on Google and see what is like trending too, because I want to deliver something that people are like right now listening to and enjoying a lot. So there are many different ways, or our friends like just kind of reach out to me and they're like, hey, have you listened to this song? I think you should make a cover on that. I get like hundreds of them though, so like it's hard to like cover them all, but like sometimes it really speak to me, especially when they share their story behind it. Like, oh man, like this person, like it means a lot to this person. So I want to be able to deliver that for the person, right? So yeah, it comes from different kind of like all these different like perspectives and different ways.
Well, and your YouTube videos, they're really cool. Some of them, the way they're recorded. Where did that kind of idea come from of recording like that?
Yeah, I mean, like it just comes. My wife Chantel, she thinks sometimes I'm just crazy because I just like, I don't know, like hanging out, and all of a sudden like, oh, I want to put a grand piano on a frozen lake. And she's like, what?
Yeah.
You should take a nap or something. But I don't know, just during the day, I just have all these like creative ideas or something. And I'm like, is that doable? A lot of the times it's not. But it just comes and goes. And some of them are actually pretty practical. I'm like, I'm in a northern Michigan setting. Like, what can I do to really accentuate the beauty that we have up here? What can I do to utilize? Because, you know, if I were to live in like New York or Chicago, it will be hard for me to like really showcase the nature, right? But like I'm surrounded by this beautiful waterfalls, trees, and hills. I'm like, I want to be able to shoot something and showcase that beauty, the nature. Yeah.
So, you know, you cover a bunch of other artists, and I named one earlier that saw the work that you had done and kind of amplified it for King and Country, a band that I adore, they're amazing in concert. Have you had other artists kind of see some of the stuff and say anything or share it at all?
Yeah, actually Bethel Music, I don't know if you're familiar.
Yes.
Yeah, they have shared my version of Reckless Love.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was really cool. So that one got like, it took off, the video got like 1.5 million views on Facebook, which was really neat. But yeah, some of like, I mean, sometimes like Chris Tomlin would like my Instagram post or something like that. But Battle Music like really featured me big time, which was really, really neat. But
so do so many people when they're on social media and somebody they follow or they respect likes something or retweets or shares it, they like freak out. Do you have those moments you're like, oh my God, someone just liked my Instagram?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I'm like, wait a minute. Because the blue check mark is everything, right? We all know it's a special feeling, right? So yeah, I mean, like when some of those like big, or like the Oceans video, the one that we put out, the grand piano on a frozen lake, like we had, or I had actually, the guy, I forget his name, but he was like the head of the whole like a Hillsong worship, and he like didn't say much, but he just put down all in caps, wow. In the comments, I'm like, yes, he approves. Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah, it's a really special feeling, like when those like original artists actually they are also finding some value in it and they're enjoying their work being recreated. Because sometimes I have my friends asking me, do you think like it's okay for you to cover those songs? Like, do you ever get in trouble? And then I literally sends them like a snapshot of like for King and Country sharing my content. Be like, I think they're encouraging me to do more. So, like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they like it.
So you mentioned at the top of the show that you grew up in South Korea and then you moved to the United States. So talk to me a little bit about what it was like growing up somewhere that probably many of my guests have never been.
Yeah, it was lovely. I mean, honestly, we didn't have a lot of money in South Korea. And I think a lot of people think when they think of Korea, even to these days, they think it's a really poor country. Like, it's really third world, but that's not the case at all. It's really well off. I mean, we're doing really well economically, but like still my family, we didn't have a ton of money. And my dad is a dedicated pastor. He spends all his invest in everything for his people, right?
Right.
But so my experience was amazing, but like we did struggle a lot with just financially.
Right.
But the unity that I had within my family was incredible. I mean, like I have the best parents in the world. I can say that so confidently. But it was definitely different. I mean, like education is a one big priority in Korea. So you won't be able to like pursue music, education, and athletics, all at the same time, like a lot of those high schoolers do in the States. Like a lot of the times, student in high school would be, doing like music and then like do some sports and also successfully pursuing, academically, like doing everything well. In Korea, you have to really stick with one. So like, I think that academical like pressure is really, really, really just hard for the students, and partially why I wanted to come to the States as well. Because I didn't like that pressure, and I wanted to do something that I really was passionate about.
So talk to me about that process. I mean, you're living in South Korea, you're growing up there with your family. How does that lead to you coming to the States? And did your whole family come with you, or how did that work?
Yeah, I came here by myself. I was very blessed though. My older sister Min Young, that she actually had been here in the States, and she got me connected to it, which was amazing. But I just really, I mean, I came here when I was 15. I didn't speak much English at all. I thought I was pretty good at speaking English, because I was watching a bunch of Western movies. That was my good excuse of studying to my parents. You know, they would be like, "Why aren't you studying?" I'll be like, "I'm studying, watching those Western movies. I'm learning my English." Of course, I have my Korean subtitles on. but yeah, I mean, I came here thinking my English was pretty good, but like I realized I really wasn't good at all, because only few of the phrases that I knew were like, "Hi, how are you doing? You know, I'm fine, thank you." And you, that's like, that was it. So it was very challenging in the first, few years.
That's what I was wondering. Did you have that? Because I've been to another country where I spent 3 or 4 weeks and knew very little of the language, but I knew some. And the first week or so, I was kind of like, it's okay. I can communicate here or there. But after like week 2, week 3, it started to become very overwhelming.
Yeah.
I just want somebody who can understand exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
Did you kind of find that too, of like it was very intimidating or overwhelming at times, not knowing the language completely with where you were?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm glad you have the experience. Like, oh man, in Korean we call it 답답해. Like, it's just like, like it feels stuffed up. That's like a literal translation. But it just feels like you have no one that can really understand you. That isolation, like, it's a really hard place, and I think we all can be in that way. Even like if you are surrounded by the people that actually speak the same language, you can obviously feel that way too. But especially when you're in a situation where no one around you is speaking your mother tongue, you're just kind of there out of nowhere. And all the values that I had, I felt like in my life, were upside down in the States. You know what I mean? Like, all the common sense that I had in Korea did not work in the States. No longer common sense. It's just my sense, right? So it felt very much just very isolating. But I think though, through that time, like, that's when I really like grew in my own faith. I learned about God, and like that's when he really became my best friend, is what I say. So it really, I mean, it became an amazing experience because of that, like how my faith grew through that difficult time. But I'm not gonna lie, it was so challenging. Yes, challenging.
And so your family, your parents, do they still live in South Korea?
Yeah, everyone's there. I'm the only one. My sister obviously is back to Korea, and my parents, I mean, everyone's there. Actually, my younger sister, Sun Young, she is now in the area where I live right now. She goes to the same school that I went to in high school. So it's really awesome to have her here. But other than that, my entire family is still in Korea.
So how often do you get to go back to visit?
My wife and I got married 3 years ago, just about. And we try to go back every year.
Okay.
So that's the plan. So we're actually hoping to go back, or we are gonna be going back this August as well. So yeah, I mean, every year we spend about 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
So actually, we're gonna go to Philippines during those 3 weeks to have like a family vacation time as well. So that's kind of our like rule that we have as a family. Like, we don't get to spend much time together throughout the year, but at least let's be really intentional about getting together once a year at least, and spend like a quality time for like at least a couple of weeks.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, growing up somewhere, no matter where you grow up, you have these things that you just love about your area. And obviously, when you grow up and move away, there's things you always miss about home.
Yeah.
What do you miss the most about home?
Food. No, food is definitely one of the things, but I just really miss being there with my family, like just sitting in the couch. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy. My parents just bought an apartment, like new apartment for the first time, which is like a big deal because my dad had never owned his own place until now. Like, it's the first time. Such a blessing. But just family time at night where there's not much going on. We just turn on like a little TV or K-drama or something, right? and then sit in the couch, just relax, talk. Don't worry about like flying back tomorrow, right? Just really no worries. And I don't know, order some like fried chicken. That's a really big thing in Korea, fried chicken. So just having that relaxing time together. It doesn't have to be like a crazy touristy things. Do something really cool. Just sitting at home together as a family, not doing anything, just being there together. I think is what I really miss the most.
So does your wife speak Korean as well?
She does. I mean, she speaks some. She's really trying to learn more.
Yeah.
I think my grandma, Korean grandma, is pressuring her a little bit. Those Asian grandmas, I'm telling you.
Well, hey, my wife is a Latina, and my mother-in-law and grandmother-in-law don't speak any English.
Okay.
They're always making me practice Spanish and learn these words, and I'm like, I'm trying.
The pressure is so real.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, my wife speaks some Korean. She's learning though every day. So she would like learn a new phrase or something, and then it's the cutest thing when she.
Do you find it reminding you sometimes of yourself when you were learning English, and now you're kind of like laughing listening to her learn Korean?
Yes. Oh yeah. I'm like, now you know how I felt for the first like 10 years.
Yeah.
Still feels that way sometimes.
But
awesome. Yeah, it's like reliving my old days through her. It's really fun. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that you were actually married to also a biracial marriage as well. That's really neat.
Yep.
Where did
my
you guys
wife
meet?
is bilingual, and my sister-in-laws are.
Okay.
But my mother-in-law and grandmother-in-law speak only Spanish. So
really, so that can be a challenge sometimes too.
It is definitely interesting trying to watch us communicate with each other, and I'll sometimes have to be like, Liz, just tell her what I said. Just tell her exactly what I said.
Yeah. Right. So she obviously helps you a lot with just translating and things. Okay.
Yeah.
So after this interview, we can definitely catch up more on those like little subtlety of, because I know the struggle's real, but also so fun. It can be even like richer in some ways too. Yeah, so it's really cool. I love it.
Well, YoungMin, the one question I always love ending all of my conversations on is, if there was one thing that you wish more people knew or understood, what would that one thing be for you?
I want them to know that where I'm coming from. So like, it's more than what I put out online. I think sometimes I put out content that people want to see, right? And people love, and it's helping them, because I'm all about helping people, giving them something that they want to obviously like can benefit from. But I do want them to know there is a bigger story behind it. Instead of seeing, this is what I literally just had my album release party for this new album that you were just mentioning about. It's called Walk on Water. But on the album, I have my face, big face, and just smiley face, and my big, smile, and I just look the happiest person. But like, instead of just seeing my face, I just want them to be able to see my story and testimony behind it.
Right.
So I think that's one thing that I want to share with my audience and my future audience as well. You may see this happy person online, doing his thing, but there's so much more to it than just the smiley face behind it. And this is why this is so awesome to have this kind of platform to share my story with you and your audience and my audience through this, is so that they also know it's not all about like butterflies and flowers, but it's also about the difficulties and the trials, the grind behind it all that makes up for what they see online. So nobody's perfect, people always like think, oh wow, like you're doing all these things online, it's really cool, but like, well, I want to share some of the real side of me with you as well, because I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. My wife can testify that. So I just want to be able to share just who I really am and even the struggles that I went through. So
that is beautiful and the perfect way to end this conversation. Young man, I thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I know this random guy on Instagram asked you to be a guest on the show you never heard of, and you said yes. So I was like, oh my gosh, I love his music. I'm so excited.
Oh,
thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. You're a blessing, man. And your smile just speaks a lot as well. I would love to hear more about your story in the future.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for those who are listening or watching as well. You can check out YoungMin You on YouTube, Instagram. You can get his album Walk on Water, which just came out and is wonderful. So please go support him and check out him on those areas as well. Thank you so much for listening and joining in on another conversation. I hope his story has inspired you to get out there and be brave enough to tell your story, because like I say every week, every story matters. You can check out past interviews on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. And I hope you join us again next week for another interview. Have a great night.